Welcome back to Belle Guernsey Shipwrecks. I'm JP Falaise and we're about to go out and dive the Raffio. It is literally just before 6 o'clock now and coming up in the background. That's awesome. I don't know if you can see that, there's some glimmering lights just on the horizon along here. That's Jersey, that's St Helier. We're going to go down this way between the Selfos Arc, which is this lump, and Jersey, which is that lump. It's about halfway. We're going to do the Raffio, which is a Sorima vessel. Sorima were a 1930s dive company which were pioneers in deep dive and salvage. And they've done some amazing salvages like the Egypt, which is down near Belle off the side of France, in the Bay of Biscay. They got a lot of gold for that one. They were salvaging copper in the early 1930s off of the Jeanne Marie, which was carrying copper ingots from New York back to Le Havre. It was meant to drop them off in Brest, but then decided it was going to transship them itself rather than take them off and go on the train. And as it come up through that channel between there's a Roche-Dou's lighthouse down here, Jersey and Sark, and it was coming through with a few other boats in escort. It was the Chaffinch, and a U-boat come up and either torpedoed them or a U-boat laid mines, which I think is the more believable one, and it hit them and sunk it. So there's something like 1,300 or 1,500 tons of that, which they salvaged the lion's share of, which is an Italian company. Unlucky for them, they lost the Raffio. They were lowering down a heavy sinker, which is a mooring system. It's a 5-ton or 7-ton heavy sinker, and a stay on their derrick crane snapped. It swung out and their centre of gravity went too far. As it tipped over, water poured on the deck, down a couple of hatches, and they lost their fireman, which was in his bunk at the time. Sadly lost his life, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we get to dive out one today. I say fingers crossed because they're not guaranteed, some of these. Sometimes you can shot them and then go to the bottom and find your shots dragged, or you haven't actually got into the wreck. So it's always fingers crossed. Heading down the boat. The sun's gone back in now. It was out just now when I had the camera on my bracket on my truck. Oh well. Morning, Captain.
Morning.
Do you want a hand? Okay, Richard, what are we going to go and do today?
Well, we're diving the Raffio, which is a little salvage boat, lost in about 1930-32, owned by a very famous Italian salvage company. Sadly, it capsized over the wreck because they had a wire laying in the water and a big dead man hanging on the end of the davit. And the stoker was drowned. And so after it was lost, the Italians came back and recovered most of their specialised diving equipment from it, and carried on working on the wreck of the old copper wreck, Jeanne Marie, lost in 1917, carrying 1,400 tonnes of copper, which the Italians did a very good job of salvaging it. So we're just leaving Guernsey now. It's down here, it's 9.8 miles to run, and we're doing 9.94, so we should be there in about an hour's time.
And how deep is it?
60 metres, 62 metres. So it's not a very big wreck. It's actually quite an unusual boat. It was a Japanese trawler, and if you look at the pictures, the funnel was in front of the wheelhouse, which is a bit of an unusual situation, but it worked for the Italians as a salvage boat, so we should go and have a look at it today, hopefully, if the skipper can find it.
Okay, thanks for that. I can't wait. This is a new one for me, and I think it's a new one for the whole team. I don't know anyone here that's dived it, so.
Hang on a minute, Paul. Highly experienced. You're the highly experienced diver.
Here we have the bubbles coming up, and here we have the wreck of the seabed, 54 metres. Yeah, come on girls, are we all kitting up all right? We all waiting for that little lift bag to come up? If the boys are in the wreck, any moment now we should see a little lift bag come up with the anchor. Happy days! Anchor up! Right, let's have some action. Divers ready to go in? Let's have a little smile.
Yeah.
So I've hit the bottom at 56.7 metres and I'm breathing 2020. That's 20% helium, 20% O2. As we attach our strobes, we then make our way to the end of the shot line and onto the wreck. The shot has landed right at the front of the boat. This is the Belle. It's tipped on its side. You can see Molly holding on to the anchor, which is still in its hawse pipe. Working out we're definitely at the Belle. We're going to swim down the starboard side, around the stern, and then down the port side, back to the shot line. My dive buddy today is Phil Worry, and you can see him just in the top of the picture. This tangled mess would have been the tools for the job. These are the large winches that used to lift the heavy sinkers up and down. The large pole on your left is actually the derrick that's snapped to starboard. These winches also would have been used for lifting the salvage itself. I can imagine the Italians now shouting tira tira, which means pull, pull. This is one of the 7 to 8 ton heavy sinkers. Potentially, this was the thing that probably sunk the ship. These heavy sinkers would have been used to lower down to the seabed and attach the hawser up to the boat. It would have been used for holding it in the tide. There would have been 4 of these, one in each corner. This is part of the ship that's been pulled over to the side. I'm not quite sure what this is. Continuing down the starboard side, this would have been the gunnels. You can see there's a hole for passing one of the hawsers through. Snapped over and now laying flat on the seabed. You can just see coming into view the very large boiler. This boiler is huge for the size of the boat. This little vessel was no more than a tug. Sorima transformed her from a Japanese trawler, displacing about 150 tons. She was a strong little ship with the usual disproportionate large foremast derrick. She carried one articulated diving shell in her stern. You could spot her at a distance by 2 peculiarities. Her wheelhouse was abaft of the funnel, and the winding gear for the diver was perched on an overhanging platform jutting out from her superstructure stern, in the shape rather like the flash shield on some modern destroyers. Here you can see a triple expansion steam engine, 390 horsepower, capable of about 10 knots. More winch gear on the stern, completely smashed apart now. This is the stern area. It's snapped off and laying back in the sand. You can just work out the steering quadrant. More fishing gear. Seems every wreck has got a trawl net on at the moment. This one I think is a tangle net. When we dive in her next, we must check if the propeller is even still there. The whole vessel's got a slight lean to starboard. It's not surprising seeing the heavy sinkers on that side. It must have been pulled down and now it's laying at about 25 degrees. Check out the conga's eye in that big tank. The whole side of the ship's fallen off to the port side. It's laying on the sand. We're currently swimming through the hold area. Just got to check how long I've been. I've been in the water for 10 minutes now. I've only got 14 minutes time to surface. I'm going to wait until it's about 30 minutes time to surface, then head up. Just going to take a look around this large winch, see what I can see. Just off to the left there is the large disproportionate foremast. We're now heading up onto where the forecastle would have been. This is the extreme Belle. These two pipes with the anchor in would have been 90 degrees up to the left. This smaller set of winches would have been for the anchors. Here you see two old steel portholes. If these were brass, I'm sure they would have gone a long time ago. The name Raffio is Italian and it means gaff or grapple. We're at 23 minutes, 7 minutes left, and I'm going to start heading up. Let's just take a look at this anchor. I'm the only one left on the wreck, so my job is to untie the shot line and start heading back up. I'm back up to 12 metres, and now I need to unhook the lazy line from the down line. I've now been in the water for 42 minutes, and I have 8 minutes left at 6 metres. Bottom time always says I went deeper, 58.7. I've got 1 minute left to deco at 6 metres, then I can return to the surface.
Now, this is what the boat looks like after the dive. Full of wet divers, wiggling around, full of junk.
That's it, we're all done, everyone's getting the gear off the boat. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, okay.
Like usual, bang on. So
Yeah.
we enjoyed that a lot.
Right, tea time?
Yeah, let's go and get a cup of tea from the cafe. Maybe a bite to eat. Thanks for coming along with us, and I'll catch you on the next tide.